Hi, friends. Dr. Jerry Duggar here with another episode of the Simple 7 Lifestyle Podcast. I hope you're having a wonderful day. This is episode 30, your optimal morning routine. We're going to talk about 5 important steps to increase your energy, balance your hormones, your metabolism, and increase your productivity every day. Now, one of my favorite ways of maintaining good function and a good foundation of my health is to establish and hold to a set morning and evening routine. And it's true, what you do in the first 60 minutes of the day and what you do in the last 60 minutes of the day really can be game changers for your overall life and your enjoyment, your health. The underlying principle here is that we probably have more control over the first hour of our day and our last couple hours of the day than we have of all the things that are going on in the middle of the day. That may not be true for 100% of people on the planet, but the vast majority, I think we could agree. We've got some control there. And it just so happens that the regulatory systems of our body, our brain, our neurotransmitters, our hormones, these have circadian clocks or biological clocks in them that are keying off of what we do first thing in the morning and in the evening. So there's some physiological reasons why we need to pay close attention to what we do during these few hours. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, focusing a little bit more today on morning routine, but there's a little talk about evening routine today. We may dive into an evening routine episode in the future. If you think that would be great, make sure you comment and let us know. That'd be a great podcast episode. So I want to help you understand there's so many things that we could do in the morning. So how do we make the best use of our time? It's going to come down to efficiency. So let's dive in and talk about how to stimulate your metabolism, how to stimulate your productivity, how to wake your body up the right way so that you can have a powerful day. Okay, so let's dive right in and talk about habit or step number 1, if you will. And that has to do with sunshine. Sunshine, and if you can't get it, full spectrum lighting. So we want to focus on stimulating our brain and waking it up to know that it's daytime. These biological clocks that run in our body often cue off of the sun. So sunlight is critical for our circadian clock. It's also critical for metabolism. Studies show that even fat cells can sense sunlight, and not getting enough increases metabolic syndrome risk. And that metabolic syndrome has to do with risk of heart disease and stroke and diabetes, what have you. That includes high blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat around the midsection. These are all indicators of metabolic syndrome and tied into our exposure to sunlight, if you can believe that. Getting sunlight exposure also helps to reset this sleep-wake cycle. The rise in cortisol that should happen in the morning in the presence of sunlight sets in motion the amount of melatonin our body's going to make 16 hours later. That signal that we get from bright light in the morning is important for our regulatory systems. Now, what happens in the wintertime, or what if you have to wake up a little bit earlier before the sun? Well, within a few minutes of waking up, you want to get some bright full spectrum light. So if you can't get it from the sun, then you can invest and buy a full spectrum light box. You see these advertised often for seasonal affective disorder, which happens when we don't see the sun enough. Now, we could talk about the benefits of vitamin D and sun exposure, but in the morning time, we're not getting the sun's direct rays. We're probably not getting a ton of vitamin D exposure, but we are stimulating our brain and triggering the release of the hormones that signal waking up. They turn on all of the body systems and get you going. That has to happen within a few minutes of waking up, at least within a half hour of waking up. We want to have some bright light exposure, particularly from the sun. Okay, so that's habit number 1. Not that difficult. if you put a little focus and attention on it. Step number 2, this has to do with hydration. We want to make sure that we get some water in our bodies very quickly after we wake up. 16 to 20 ounces of water. You can throw in some lemon juice or a little pinch of Celtic salt or something like that. There's lots of different ways to make this even more, optimum. But the point is, we kind of detoxify, our body's busy repairing throughout the night. And so getting a good flush of that system is really important. So drinking water also stimulates thermogenesis. Studies have shown that drinking 16 ounces of water increases your resting metabolism by 10 to 30% for about an hour. So just drinking water will rev up your metabolism and get your body humming along, and it will help to flush toxins. Okay, step number 3, movement, right? This joyful movement to get your body going. Studies have also shown that movement early in the morning stimulates your metabolism all day long. So go for a brisk 10-minute walk or do some calisthenics, do some yoga. Get your body moving in ways that you enjoy, that you're going to be willing to stick with for the long haul. Maybe find 2 or 3 things that you can alternate so that you don't get too bored. This certainly could be weightlifting or any other physical activity that you enjoy. I love just simple body weight exercise, push-ups and pull-ups and hangs and jumps and all those fun things. These are easy to do. They're cheap. They're free. And then follow that up with some stretching, yoga, those sort of movements. Okay. If structured exercise is kind of a swear word for you, like you've got opposition to doing it, well, think of things that are easier to do and more purposeful. I love a walk around the neighborhood with Tammy in the morning, watching the sunrise, talking about our day. And, we can turn that into a run depending on how we're feeling. So just a lot of variety, but get your body moving within a few minutes of your morning. Okay, step number 4. This has to do with conscious breath work. Now, we've talked a little bit about breath work in the past. It's something that a lot of people don't really think about, and they're just unconscious. They're just breathing in and out without any conscious thought. But more and more research is showing that focused attention on how and when we breathe and how fast we breathe and all of these things impact our autonomic nervous system. So all we're trying to do, really, I guess you could say health could be defined by how well our body can adapt to its environment, its external environment. And the more flexible we become in that adaptation, the healthier we are. And the thing that governs that flexibility, that adaptation, is our autonomic nervous system. It's reading signals from our environment, and it's altering and adjusting the way our body works. So we have this self-regulatory capacity driven by the autonomic nervous system. So how do we tune? How do we strengthen? How do we, kind of hack this autonomic nervous system so that it's getting healthy, it's getting fit, just like our cardiovascular system might get fit? Well, turns out breath work is the most powerful way. In fact, changing how we breathe, how fast we breathe, the pattern of our breath has an immediate effect on our nervous system. It changes our state of consciousness, our state of focus, our state of anxiety or peace. It is a window right into how we function and feel. And most of us didn't ever grow up learning this fact. So there are different modalities or methods of breath work, and all of them will have some benefit. It's kind of like trying to tease out the different benefits between yoga and Pilates. I mean, I'm sure there are some differences because the movements are slightly different, but they're both beneficial, right? So we could deliberate and debate the best forms of breath work, but the point is do something, learn some technique, and learn how to incorporate it and start doing it. I've been a big proponent of Wim Hof method, which is kind of a newfangled version of a really ancient practice, but I've recently been exposed to sky breath or Sudarshan Kriya phenomenal. I'm absolutely loving that and looking forward to talking more about that on future podcasts. So, conscious breath work allows us to balance and tune our regulatory systems. Think that would be important to have a powerful, productive day, to go into your day with a tuned up nervous system? Absolutely. So, step number 5 has to do with creating the right perspective and framework for your day. And I believe the most powerful way to do that is with gratitude. So, a daily gratitude practice that could look very different for different people. Some might want to write in a gratitude journal, or you may want to, enter the things that you're grateful for on your notes on your phone, or maybe even just doing some meditation where you're consciously bringing these things into your awareness, into your conscious mind, and being grateful for them, feeling that gratitude. We know that practicing gratitude consciously changes our neurotransmitters. It improves serotonin and dopamine that create motivation and that also help us feel reward and pleasure, help us feel satisfied and content with life. So the more gratitude that we express, bring that emotion into our being, the physiology changes. You know that our thoughts become proteins, our thoughts become chemistry in our brain. And so we can think and feel in order to change our brain and our neurochemistry. So that also lowers stress. So if we can marry a few of these things together, and I'm going to tell you how we do this to make the most efficient use of our time in the morning. If we can marry a few of these things together, we can really transform our entire day by being very regimented in the morning. I want to give you one bonus tip. This is something that you don't do. This is actually a step of inaction. Less is more, they say. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about intermittent fasting. So skipping the time that you might use to prepare and eat breakfast actually might go a long way to having a more productive day, because we know that intermittent fasting can stimulate metabolism. Your body is breaking down the resources that it has stored up for fuel and energy, and we're becoming more flexible metabolically. It decreases levels of insulin. It signals our body to lose weight. So if we can create a wider fasting window, 12 to 16 hours, this can be really helpful for us. I talk a lot about this in just a previous episode. So just go back and search on the benefits of fasting. So part of this eating window is also, you have to kind of consider the nighttime. So I mentioned we're going to talk a little bit about the evening routine. And all I'm going to say there is make sure that you don't eat after dinner. We want to make sure that we leave at least 2 to 3 hours between our last meal and when we go to sleep. Okay. So that will allow us to get several hours before we sleep, and then, 7 hours of sleep, and then a little bit of our morning off to the races here before we have breakfast. Okay. So there's your bonus step. So we have to figure out how to do all this in a short amount of time. If you're like most people, there's kids to get ready for school, or, you got to get ready to get off to work. A lot of people are kind of pressed for time in the morning. It's the most important time of the day in many respects, but it's also, it's precious. It's precious time. So I want you to just think about how you could stack some of these habits and make them very, very efficient. So I like to wake up and immediately, go to the bathroom, but then get a nice big drink of water. So that's, I get my hydration in. That really doesn't take any time to kind of go through those first steps. So we're getting hydration first off. Then I'll get dressed in some workout clothes, and I'll either go on a walk/run in the sunlight, or I will go into our workout room and turn on our bright full spectrum light and either lift weights, do yoga, do calisthenics, whatever I want to do stretching in there with that bright light. So now we've accomplished 3 things in a matter of, 15 or 20 minutes. Okay. And then I'll begin my breath work practice. And like I said, that might be sky breath, or it might be Wim Hof. I'm experimenting lately with a little combination and actually doing them both. But that practice takes 25 minutes, 25 minutes. And the last part of that practice is a meditation. So during that 10 minutes of meditation, I focus all my attention on gratitude. So I want you to evaluate your current morning routine and the amount of time that you have. And, if you can't create a space of 45 or maybe up to 60 minutes, you might have to be selective about which habits you bring into the morning. So remember the bright light exposure, that has to happen in the morning. Hydration has to happen in the morning. I would suggest that breath work is best done in the morning to tune and balance your nervous system for the stresses that you'll face that day. You can exercise and take a walk at lunch. That's fine. You can do gratitude at any point, even in the evening. Now, if you're having a hard time getting enough hours of sleep and waking up, then you really have to start working on your evening routine and what time you go to bed. So that would be another area for you to look at. All right. So as your morning goes, so will the rest of your day go. Now, that's not 100% true. Things come at us pretty quickly, but the more prepared we are by having a healthy, balanced body in the morning, the better we're going to tolerate and handle the stressors and the inevitable challenges that come at us. So focus on your morning routine this week. I'd love to hear some feedback on the things that you're trying and how it's going for you. So that's it for today. Remember to like and subscribe. Share this episode with people that you know and love. And if you have any comments, we'd love to interact with you. Make sure you're following us on Facebook and Instagram at Duggar Wellness. So until next time, go out there and do some good in the world today.